Hi, my name is Manzi and I'd like to talk to you about this book. The book is called Memories, Hopes, and Conversations, Appreciative Inquiry, Missional Engagement, and Congregational Change. It's written by Mark Lou Branson. So who is Branson? Branson is a professor at Fowler Theological Seminary. He's also an author for several other books, including but not limited to Starting Missional Churches and another book called Churches, Culture, and Leadership. In this particular book, Branson speaks about appreciative inquiry. I think what is the thesis of this book, according to him, is that appreciative inquiry is a great tool for actually recreating a congregation or any organization using conversations which are tailored around good questions. So let's look at the definition of appreciative inquiry according to the book. Appreciative inquiry is a collaborative and highly participative, system-wide approach to seeking, identifying, and enhancing the life-giving forces that are present when a system is performing optimally in human, economic, and organizational terms. So appreciative inquiry, therefore, is less to do with asking yourself, so what are the weaknesses of an organization and seeking to solve problems or things like that. But it's more to do with asking yourselves, what are good stories we can learn from within the organization? What are the strengths of the organization? What talents and gifts are available within the organization so that you may then innovatively move towards a different future altogether. There are several steps involved in the process. The first step, according to the book, is to choose the positive as the focus of the inquiry, and then to inquire into stories of life-giving forces. Third, locate themes that appear in the stories and select topics for future or further inquiries. Create shared images for a preferred future. And then lastly, find innovative ways to create that future. You will notice if you read this book that the appreciative inquiry is really focused more on the positive things and what's going well in the most part, to come to a different future to come to a different possibility in the future. A critique, therefore, that one might think of is this process then too ignorant of what might potentially be going wrong in an organization, right? Because a lot of the time there is a lot of things that are going wrong, but we also recognize that a lot of the times both followers and leaders will sit down and complain a lot about what's going wrong, and sometimes that ends up putting us at a state where we can no longer function because we're paralyzed by the things that are going wrong. As a matter of fact, the author of this book argues that gratitude and grace, as part of the core of appreciative inquiry for churches, is what can help them also enter into a space of confession and lamentation without being hurtful to one another. The argument is that if we're grounded in gratitude and grace, or grounded in love, then we are better able to sit down and talk about the sorrows without actually pointing fingers at one another. I find this very intriguing, and I hope to be able to practice it myself as a leader. As a spirit-led activity, appreciative inquiry encourages the use of scripture as people are going through the process of discerning what kind of future God might have in store for them. This really invites the Spirit to speak within us through the Word. There are examples shown in the books of 3 churches using IA, and what I observe is that besides being such a Spirit-filled activity, IA also has a high capacity to increase participation within the church, be it leaders participating or followers as well. The author also argues that it increases interpretive leadership, a process whereby people are not just doing tasks, but they are also understanding and connecting the dots between tasks and certain core values that might be important to a specific church or to our Christian values and beliefs. There are 3 important things that I learned from this book. that has profound implication for our church and leadership. First is that in the midst of such great loss in our church, we can still look back in our past, think about all those great stories that came from that past, not to mourn them, but to think about and discern where the future lies and where the Spirit is leading us. The second thing is that all people are capable of discerning and leading. This is important, particularly when you're thinking about leadership itself, but also when you're thinking about teaching about vocational calling and baptism. And then the third thing is that the Spirit is always among us. The Spirit is present in our past stories, the Spirit is present today, and the Spirit will be there to lead us to a different future. And this concludes my presentation.